Today's thought is success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Good morning, students. Welcome back. I hope all of you are safe and fit at home, studying well and completing your work on time. This video is for the students of class 8th, subject English. And in today's video, we are going to cover one chapter of our PC Wren's grammar book. This is our chapter number 20 and the name of the chapter is Clauses. This is my lecture number 1 of the same chapter. This chapter is taken from PC Wren's grammar book. Students, we shall cover this chapter in 2 lectures. Topics to be covered in today's lecture are meaning of clause will be told, types of clauses will be told, noun clause and adjective clause will be explained along with examples in detail. At last, homework will be assigned. A question arises, what is a clause and how many kinds of clauses are there? So now let us see the definition of clause to clarify it. A sentence which is part of a larger sentence is called a clause. It contains a subject and a verb. It can be a simple sentence or a part of compound sentence. A phrase and a clause are also parts of a sentence. Or in simple way, we can say that a clause is comprised of a group of words which includes a subject and a finite verb. A clause contains only one subject and one verb. The subject of a clause can be mentioned or hidden, but the verb must be clearly visible and distinguishable. Let's see an example to clarify it. Look at the following sentence which is divided into 2 parts. He died before he was tired. Now, let us examine each part of the sentence. The first part has a subject, that is he, and a predicate, that is died, or you can say a verb, that is died. Similarly, the second part has a subject he and a predicate was tired. So, in this sentence, there are 2 clauses. One is he died and another one is before he was tired. But one is main clause and another one is dependent clause. So now let us see how many kinds of clauses are there. Number 1, main clause, or you can say principal clause. Number 2 is subordinate clause, or you can say dependent clause. So there are 2 kinds of clauses, that is main clause and subordinate clause, or you can say independent or principal clause and dependent clause. Let's see what is the meaning of main clause. Main clause is that clause which expresses a complete meaning. It alone can stand as a sentence. Means main clause, it is a clause which is giving a complete meaning by its own. It is also called the principal or independent clause. Let us see an example to clarify it. As I have divided one sentence in 2 parts. He died before he was tired. So, the clause he died in the first sentence makes good sense by itself and hence can stand by itself as a complete sentence. It is therefore called the principal or main clause, or you can say the independent clause. So, an independent clause or main clause functions on its own to make a meaningful sentence. Now let us see what is the meaning or definition of subordinate clause. A subordinate clause is a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. It needs an independent clause to make sense. It is also called the dependent clause, or we can say a dependent clause cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. It is also called subordinate clause. Dependent clauses help the independent clauses to complete the sentence. A dependent clause alone cannot form a complete sentence. Let us see an example to clarify it. He died before he was tired. So, the clause before he was tired cannot stand by itself and make good sense. It is dependent on the principal clause. He died. It is therefore called a dependent or subordinate clause. Subordinators include relative pronouns and subordinating conjunctions. So, the difference between independent and dependent clause is an independent clause functions on its own to make a meaningful sentence, but a dependent clause cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. Now let us see how many kinds of subordinate clauses are there. Number 1, noun clause. Number 2, adjective clause. Number 3, adverb clause. So, there are 3 kinds of subordinate clauses. That is noun clause, adjective clause and adverb clause. So now let us discuss kinds of subordinate clauses in detail along with examples. Let us see the first kind, noun clause. What is a noun clause? A noun clause is one that does the work of a noun. It usually starts with words such as that, where, what, whatever, who, whom, whoever and whomever. It can work as a noun either at the place of a subject or an object. Means a subordinate clause which acts as a noun in a sentence is called a noun clause. Noun means any naming words. It usually starts with words such as that, what, whatever, who, whom, whoever and whomever. It acts exactly like a noun in a sentence. It can work as a noun either at the place of a subject or an object. Let us see an example to clarify it. I expect that I shall get a prize. So, expect what? Means what are you expecting? That I shall get a prize. So, to make a complete sentence, we need a subject, verb or an object. So, here in the sentence, I is subject, expect is verb and that I shall get a prize is an object of the sentence. And that I shall get a prize is a noun clause here. So why do we need a noun clause in a sentence? Because it works as a subject or an object. Fine. So how you can recognize that it is a noun clause? So a noun clause carries a conjunction. It can be relative pronouns plus its own subject, verb plus any another verb plus helping verb plus main verb plus an object. So here that it is a conjunction here, or you can say relative pronoun. I is subject here. After then shall is helping verb, get is main verb and a prize is here an object. So The subordinate clause, that I shall get a prize, is the object of the verb expect, and so does the work of a noun. It is therefore called a noun clause. A question arises how to distinguish noun clause. Put what with the main verb and ask a question. If you get the answer positively, that clause will be noun clause. To clarify it, let's see an example. He promised me that he would help me. So here main clause is promised. So let's ask a question. What he promised? Answer is that he would help me. So according to answer, we get the positive answer. So that he would help me is here noun clause. Since a noun clause does the work of a noun, it can be the subject of a verb. How it can be the subject of a verb? Let us see an example to clarify it. What you said is very bad. To make a sentence, we need a subject, verb, or an object. So here in this sentence, what you said, it is a subject, it is here verb, and very bad is an object. So subject can be a word or group of words. In a sentence, subject always come before a verb. So here what you said is a noun clause. Why it is a noun clause? Because it carries a conjunction, that is what, subject, that is you, and a verb, that is said. Now the next is the object of a transitive verb. Means a noun clause does the work of the object of a transitive verb. How? Let us see an example to clarify it. He does not know where I live. So here, as you can see that where I live, it is an object of the sentence. And when we will divide this object in different parts, it carries one conjunction, that is where, one subject, and one verb or an object. It is not necessary that you will get object. But as you can see that here where I live is an object of the verb know. Number third use is the object of a preposition. So let's see how a noun clause is used as the object of a preposition. To clarify it, let's see some examples. Number one, there is no meaning in what you say. So here in the sentence, in his preposition and what you say, it is an object. Number two, listen to what the teacher says. Again, to is here a preposition, what the teacher says, it is an object. Number three, I am not influenced by what he proposes. So here by is a preposition and what he proposes, it is an object. So if a clause comes after any preposition and functions as an object of the preposition, that noun clause is called the object of a preposition. The fourth use is the complement of a verb of incomplete predication. So let us see how a noun clause is used as the complement of a verb of incomplete predication. To clarify it, first of all, let us see an example. His great fear is that he may fail. So as you can see in this sentence, his great fear is. This is a principal clause, or you can say main clause. That he may fail, this is a dependent clause or subordinate clause. Now, if there is a helping verb at the end of the principal clause, means his great fear is. This is a principal clause, and as you can see that there is a helping verb at the end of the principal clause, that is. And the clause which comes after the helping verb means that he may fail. This is a dependent clause and it is coming just after the helping verb. Then it is called noun clause complement to an incomplete verb. Why? Because this clause is used to complete the meaning of that particular verb. So this is called the complement of a verb of incomplete predication. So dear students, let us understand the term a noun clause is used as complement to an incomplete verb in detail. So first of all, we should know what is an intransitive verb. An intransitive verb does not have an object. However, it manages to express a complete thought without the help of other words. To clarify it, let's see some examples. Look at the following sentences. Number 1, fire burns. Number 2, the wind blows. Number 3, birds fly. As you can see that burns, blows and fly, these all are intransitive verb, because as you can see that an intransitive verb does not have an object. There is no object after it, and it manages to express a complete thought without the help of an object. So students, let us understand this term verb of an incomplete predication. So first of all, let us see what is an intransitive verb. An intransitive verb does not have an object. However, it manages to express a complete thought without the help of other words. To clarify it, let's see some examples. Look at the following sentences. Number 1, fire burns. Number 2, the wind blows. Number 3, birds fly. So here the intransitive verbs burns, blows and fly express a complete thought. Hence, they are called verbs of complete predication. Now read the following sentences. Number 1, the girl seemed. Number 2, the dog is. Both the verbs italicized are verbs of incomplete predication because they don't express a complete thought. Some word or words have to be supplied to complete their sense. Now look at these sentences. Number 1, the girl seemed excited. Number 2, the dog is hungry. So the words thus added to complete the meaning of a verb of incomplete predication are called its complement. And the complement of the intransitive verb always describes the subject and hence it is called the subject complement. Number 5th use is when a noun clause is used in opposition to a noun. What is the meaning of opposition? Opposition means a situation in which two nouns or noun phrases are used to refer to the same person or thing. To clarify it, let's see some examples. Number 1, the report that she has married is true. Number 2, it is certain that you have made a mistake. So, if any clause is used to clarify the meaning of any noun or pronoun, in that case, that clause is called noun clause in opposition to the noun or pronoun. So, in these sentences, here that she has married and that you have made clarify the meanings of the report and it is certain. Now let us see the next kind of subordinate clause, that is adjective clause. What is an adjective clause? An adjective clause is one that does the work of an adjective. Like an adjective, it modifies a noun or pronoun in the sentence. An adjective clause mostly starts with relative pronouns such as that, who, whom, whose, which, or whose. Who, whom is used to refer to persons, which refers to things and small animals. That refers to both things and animals, and sometimes to persons as well as. Relative clauses also begins with relative adverbs when, where, and why in place of relative pronouns. Let us see an example to clarify it. I remember the house where I was born. So here question is which house where I was born, means which house I remember where I was born. So remember one thing, the clause where I was born describes the noun the house and does the work of an adjective. It is therefore called an adjective clause. The components of an adjective clause. How you can recognize that this is an adjective clause? First of all, it will starts with a relative pronoun like who, whom, whose, that, or which. So here it is starting with relative pronoun, that is where. Next is it will have a subject and a verb. Here in the sentence I is subject and was is here verb. Number third, it will tell us something about the noun. So here where I was born, it is modifying to the noun, that is the house. A question arises how to distinguish adjective clause in a sentence. For that, keep one thing in your mind. If the last word of a principal clause is noun or pronoun, then the clause after it will be an adjective clause. Subordinate clause qualifies that noun or pronoun. To clarify it, let's see an example. This is the man who has broken the slate. So as you can see that this is the man, it is here clause. Who has broken the slate is here dependent clause, or you can say subordinate clause. The man is here noun. So according to the rule, if the last word of a principal clause is a noun or a pronoun, so here the man is the last word of the principal clause and it is a noun here. So then the clause after it, means whatever the clause is appearing or coming after it, who has broken the slate, will be an adjective clause because it qualifies that particular noun or pronoun. One thing, for time we use when, for place we use where, for reason we use why, for manner we use how, such and some as. An adjective or relative clause begins with relative pronouns. Relative pronouns join principal clause and subordinate clause. Relative pronoun qualifies noun and functions as an adjective. Some relative pronouns functions as who or whom. It is used to refer to people. Which is used to refer animal, objects or ideas. Whose is used to refer possession, you can say belongingness. That is used to refer people, animals or objects. Now there are some relative adverbs also which are joining principal clause with subordinate clause. These are where is used for places, when is used for time, and why is used for reason. So now let's see how many kinds of relative clauses are there. Number 1, defining relative clause. Number 2, non-defining relative clause. So there are two kinds of relative clauses. defining and non-defining. So we shall read about these two kinds of relative clauses in the next video, or you can say next lecture, along with adverb clauses. Students, your homework is revise chapter 20, that is clauses from the book or video. That's all for today. So this is the end of the lecture. Students, if you like our videos, please hit on the like button and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you and have a nice day.